I think the biggest news this week was sticking in the AFC East, i.e., former Patriots legend, you could say that is Bill Belichick. 6 Super Bowls won with the Patriots, 2 others as a coordinator, and yet not going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame anytime soon. So this story came out earlier this week that basically the nuance of it is he did not receive all the votes to be voted in as a first ballot Hall of Famer, as Bill Belichick's first year of eligibility was this year. And there's a lot of speculation as to why was he not voted in automatically as a first ballot Hall of Famer. He did not receive 40 of the 50 votes that you need from the committee in order to be inducted in. I believe it was yesterday that the Pro Football Hall of Fame goes, okay, we're going to release a statement, say we're going to go investigate this. Anybody that was acting out of the accordance of the rules is going to be What happened? I don't know if you guys have any thoughts. I know there's like conspiracy conversation. Just thoughts on this in general. Like what are we thinking about this entire conversation?
Man, I don't even know if it's possible to have like an alternate viewpoint on this one other than they plain flat out got it wrong. And I'm referring to the Pro Football Hall of Fame voters side of things. Yeah, like there is so many layers to this. I even trying to play the alternate viewpoint, all I can think is like, I don't know, do they know more about Spygate, Deflategate than the public knows? Do they have something incredibly damning? But that's highly speculatory. We can't even go there. Based on what we have in front of us and Bill Belichick's resume, the question should have been whether he goes in unanimously or not whether it's first ballot or not. So listen, the statement goes out yesterday. They're going to investigate. Is that just a save face part of it? Is anything going to come of it? Does something deserve to become of it? I don't know. I think my biggest takeaway from this, I just look towards the Baseball Hall of Fame side of things and seeing how much the transparency of voting has really, I think, improved like the quality of voting. I think we have way less discourse about who ends up in the MLB Hall of Fame on a year-to-year basis. I think that's because people have to justify their votes. We're not here trying to speculate about how people come to these results. And I think really Football Hall of Fame and really just Hall of Fames across sports could definitely benefit from just going the transparency route. I think that is the outcome. I think maybe a silver lining of this, that this is a disaster that this happened, but this could move the conversation forward on transparency going forward.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, Christian. I think the surprise of this whole story was just, I think that it was not on anybody's radar, obviously, because I obviously, voting and stuff wasn't announced, or maybe it was, but nobody really pays much attention. And if it did, everyone would have thought the same thing Christian just said. It's like Bill Belichick is a no doubt about it first ballot Hall of Famer, and yeah, whether or not he's unanimous should probably be the only question. And I don't even think that would be a question if you really go back and before this whole chaos started. 9 out of 10 people would probably say, yeah, he's probably a unanimous Hall of Famer. Maybe if not clearly the best coach in NFL history. So I mean, it's one of those things that you just kind of want to know who it was that decided not to do that, because then you can start to really put the pieces together. Whether it was anything personal, or maybe it was more insider information that we're not privy to about Belichick, or maybe it's just this guy has a bias towards another team or another region, or he just doesn't. Maybe there's somebody a little younger, or I don't know. Like there could be many different reasons. I'm not even really aware of. Mostly I think it's the media, I think, has some part in it, but I think like former coaches or other Hall of Famers, I think, vote as well. I
Yeah.
know Bill
From
Polian's
from what
been
I
in the
saw, it's
news. Yeah.
mostly media members, but like you're saying,
Right.
they are like scattered in there. Some guys who aren't media only. Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Seems like there's a variety, but yeah. Amanda, what do you have on this here? Do you have something that we haven't brought up yet? Because yeah,
No, ultimately, like I think weirdly, the first thought I had was his tenure as 1 year head coach at North Carolina, like that damning. And then like that was my first thought. Obviously, that's not the main topic. It's the Spygate, it's the Deflategate, which I think are so like subpar conversations when it factors into this, because then when you look at it from more of like you extrapolate and you think what criteria would there be for anybody to get voted in as a first ballot Hall of Famer if he's not sort of like the standard, or at least from a coaching perspective. Because the rumblings I've heard is that it's difficult to get in as a coach on your first year of eligibility. I know, like, when we look back on it in like a year or two, when he gets voted in maybe as like a second ballot, this conversation probably goes away in some respects. Some people will probably still be stamping their approval of like whether it was the right or wrong decision. But right now, it's obviously a topic. And I think what's interesting is that there's not a lot of situations in sports where everybody is like, this is a right or wrong decision. A lot of times there's subjectivity involved. I'm not someone who wants to see the Patriots succeed ever. Obviously, Brandon, you're similar. You're in the same division. You're a Bills fan. And this can be pushed aside from the Pats altogether, who are in the Super Bowl. Like, I don't, it's just like cinema.
I haven't heard.
Here.
Yeah.
No, apparently.
I mean, the one case to play devil's advocate, and I think it is a different scenario, is that, you know, you look at the Baseball Hall of Fame and the reluctance to allow, you know, the guys from the steroid era to get into the Hall. And that's purely based on the idea that, hey, cheaters never prosper, I would imagine. Like, that's, you know, they're hard and true on that. And I mean, maybe I don't think there's really been a case in the NFL where someone who's been, you know, convicted maybe is the wrong word, but accused and found guilty, I guess, of cheating and reprimanded for it, was in the Hall of Fame too. So it could be just that's, you know, guys, you kind of get that in your head. If that's kind of your principle, then I can understand a couple got like maybe, but I think seeing whatever less, you know, more than, I guess if it's 50 voters, you know, you're talking more than 20% of the voters feel that way. I think that, to me, you probably have a variety of reasons as well. Like I think Christian said, it's like maybe a couple guys are feeling that way about the cheating and are just like super, super strong on that point and are not going to waver, but it feels like there may be other things happening. So I think that's why the story has kind of blown up so much.
Even if we assume the non-nefarious option, where I am cool with if people feel very strongly about the cheating part of this and that is their reasoning.
Sure.
But it goes back to the transparency. If we have transparency with the voting, I don't think this is it's a story. It's a big story, but I don't think it's a backlash type of story like we're having now, right?
Yeah.
I think we'd be cool with people giving their position, saying, here is my reasoning, here's why. Might not be happy with it, but you can at least understand someone's reasoning. And it's the fact that we're left in the dark on that makes this so a bigger story than it could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I would bring up here, a question for you guys. If it is the cheating, once again, if that is where people are pointing the finger, how does voting for Tom Brady go? Like, if that is what the question marks are, do you only point the finger at Bill Belichick and not Tom Brady? How do you differentiate that? Yes, Tom Brady factors into the success. I mean, no, some people argue that it's Belichick that is the mastermind, right? This is a conversation that goes on all the time. How do you separate those two?
Yeah, I wonder if it's like players getting less or special treatment. And I don't know if there's any signs of that by any stretch. People will probably argue that, yeah, he won that extra Super Bowl in Tampa by himself. I don't think that really negates all of the other conversation. I don't know. Like, if there was one guy in any sport right now that is up for like the Hall of Fame anytime soon and is a guaranteed unanimous, like we suggested, it's him. Like, there's not a lot of guys that get unanimous voting. And I don't know if you can describe another guy that is the pinnacle of his sport and is about to enter that part of his career, just basically getting into the Hall of Fame. I don't know. Like, he has to, at this point, it does feel like there's precedent and he would have to be held to the same standard. But because this is such a big conversation and because this isn't going into the night quietly, a lot of people in the Hall of Fame now, whether a process has actually changed or it's just sort of a mentality that people have going in and it's in the back of their minds, I can't not vote for him now because it's going to blow up even more. I think this conversation has almost shifted the thought to, all right, Tom Brady has to get in now so we avoid all this media dust up. I would vote him in unanimously. That's all I can really say. But it probably will factor in. It'll be a conversation now that this first initial conversation has been had.
Yeah, I mean, I expect some hypocrisy for sure from these voters, just because. Yeah, and I agree, because you can look at it, I think, either way. Like, you know, Spygate, more on the coaching side, you can no argument there. Like, that's a Belichick thing. I'm sure Brady benefited from it, whatever. But Deflategate is kind of the opposite, where people viewed that as like Brady's thing, and he got suspended for it, and that was a whole thing, right? Like Belichick kind of threw him under the bus, and we still to this day don't really know who knew what in that regard. So I think it is very interesting, or it will be very interesting to see how people treat Tom Brady. I expect that they will vote him in. Maybe it's not unanimous, and there are maybe a couple holdouts, but I expect him to get in on the first ballot. And I think it's mostly because of like I said, kind of that, whether or not these guys will admit it, but there probably is some level of like personal just feelings and bias towards, a coach who maybe didn't treat you very well or wasn't very open or whatever. And Tom Brady, who probably was gracious to everybody he saw, and like you just have maybe a different level of feeling about them, or even if you don't have that kind of connection, it's just like a whole other thing. Like Alex said, players are often treated differently than coaches. So that's just kind of what I expect to happen. And yeah, I think especially if this vote, prompts some sort of transparency, you're going to bet that these guys are going to, vote differently when it comes to knowing that they have to release their votes after the fact. So it feels like maybe a watershed moment where we may never, we're going to look at these votes, every year the same way that we're looking at this one.
Yeah, I have one more point.
I've got one last. Yeah, go ahead.
If you don't mind, Christian, then you can wrap this bad boy up. You made a good point, pardon me, Brandon, where you brought up the fact that like these teams were Brady, Belichick, Patriots, they were punished for these scandals. I know for Brady, he was suspended 4 games. I believe the team was fined $1 million, and for Deflategate, for Spygate, I believe they were like draft picks were forfeited. So what's weird is that they paid their penance for their mistakes, and I feel like most people in sports have. What's accomplished by not voting someone in on their first try and they're voted in on their second? Yes, some people think that it's like the sanctity of there's only so many people that are voted unanimously on the first ballot, but the world knows that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I just find it almost like a weird way to punish someone by not really punishing them, because in 10 years, this will still be a little footnote, but that's probably all it will be, is a footnote. This guy is still going to be a Hall of Famer. So I do find it sort of weird when you look at it from more of a comprehensive view to be like, what is this really accomplishing if you're not voting him in? I don't know.
It's petty is basically what it is. It's petty behavior, and linking both of your guys' thoughts together, where there maybe is these personal feelings between media members and Belichick not enjoying that relationship. I just wanted to make one example here. It's a guy who wore more of that Blue Jay than the modern one, Dave Steeb, right? And I'll give credit to Dave, our boy Dave Leo, who he put me on this YouTube documentary on Dave Steeb by Secret Base. Check out Secret Base's YouTube channel. You can find it there. I want to say it was like 4 hours, 5 parts. It was incredible.
Damn.
And it was all about how he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, how he was deserving of multiple Cy Youngs that he didn't get. And just how basically what it boiled down to is media people didn't like Dave Steeb. And we didn't have transparency in the Baseball Hall of Fame at that time. Lo and behold, he's not a Hall of Famer. So, transparency, that's what I would want here. That is exactly what I would want. I think that would be the best police moving forward.
Agreed. I agreed fully. I think that's the best way to kind of negate and just dissolve all of these issues when we think about them in a vacuum.